Sri Lanka's former president, Ranil Wickremesinghe, has been granted bail following his arrest over allegations he misused public funds while in office. Thousands of his supporters have taken to the streets, calling his arrest a political witch hunt. For more on this, let's bring in Harindra Desanayake, policy analyst and co-founder of Muragala Centre for Progressive Politics and Policies. Harindra, good to have you on the program today. Now, firstly, can you explain what is the basis of these allegations against Ranil Wickremesinghe in that he misused state funds while he was in office?
Yes, thank you for having me. The allegation against Mr. Wickremesinghe, who was been 6 times Prime Minister and 1-time President, being in politics for 40 years in Sri Lanka, is that he had misappropriated public funds by diverting from an official tour from the Caribbean to Sri Lanka, on the way stopping by in the UK to attend his wife's graduation ceremony, where she was conferred the professorship. So for the hotel costs and security detail and food and paraphernalia, he's been charged of. These expenses have been charged as private expenditure and therefore an abuse of public funds. The amount is about 16 million Sri Lankan rupees, which comes to about 5,000 US dollars.
And then how has he responded to these charges?
Well, I mean, obviously, Mr. Wickremesinghe has denied them, and the opposition has taken it as an opportunity to frame the government's move as a move towards establishing a constitutional dictatorship. But the public remains divided on the issue. Mr. Wickremesinghe denies it, and one of the issues is that Mr. Wickremesinghe, despite allegations of big allegations of him, like a bond scam that happened in 2015, he generally has had a Mr. Clean image vis-a-vis other politicians who have been in the helm of ruling Sri Lanka.
Yeah, so given that reputation, what do you then make of his supporters alleging that this is pretty much a political witch hunt by President Aruna Dissanayake?
Yes, I mean the opponents frame it as a political witch hunt because for few reasons. It's a surprise for most of the people who are opposition leaning, because he was probably not the first person to be taken under custody, and then taking him to arresting him on a Friday where bail is not is a little difficult because you have to go wait through the weekend, and also framing of the issue as a misappropriation of public funds, because that is an unbailable, more or less technically an unbailable offense in Sri Lanka.
Yes.
Yeah.
And given that the current president Dissanayake, he is engaging a war on corruption, corruption purge. So are we expecting perhaps more cases like this to come forward?
Yes, I think this could be a ground tester for the current government, which is sitting on a big anti-corruption mandate. And one of the first things that those who support the government want is a huge anti-corruption purge, which it has been talking about, the JVP and the NPP has been talking about for a long time. And so this will be a testing move, but we can expect more of this sort action, anti-corruption action, because it's the government's compelled to show these actions also to maintain the demand, the public demand for anti-corruption moves. It's kind of delivering the mandate for the government, so it's important for them to perform on this on these lines.
And going back to the arrest of Ranil Wickremesinghe, do you see sort of a correlation, because his critics see him as an ally of the Rajapaksas, and we know that during that time that plunged Sri Lanka into an economic crisis.
Yeah, for those who are familiar with Sri Lanka's politics in the last decade, it's kind of funny, that Mr. Wickremesinghe is seen as the ally of the Rajapaksas because they were the arch enemies for 2 decades in Sri Lanka's politics. And then come the economic crisis and the debt default and popular protests, and Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa, the former president, was ousted, and then in comes Mr. Wickremesinghe takes the leading role, and then like transforming the economy and the so-called economic stability that was achieved. So he's been credited for that, managing the economic crisis in a way. And then it's also, and that's one of the main rallying points for the opposition as well, to say, this is the man who saved you during the economic crisis, and now, now we are going after him.
Yes, and given the divisions of opinion in Sri Lanka, how big of a test will this be? Should this get all the way to the courts, then how big of a test will this be towards the independence of Sri Lanka's judiciary?
Well, we trust, generally the trust of Sri Lanka's judiciary is quite high.
Yes.
But what is likely here is, and also the opposition's challenge, is that the prosecution process can be manipulated in a way that it frames the issue in a way that obscures truth, and then also penalize using the process as the punishment than the judge, the discretion of the courts. So that's where a bit of a challenge remains, and one of the things that people who do not support this view or the arrest of Mr. Wickremesinghe is that probably the government is not acting on good faith here, or the prosecution process is politically motivated. So it's a give and take thing. But what is important here is that this arrest has divided Sri Lanka's polity in a new polarizing angle. So corruption versus anti-corruption, or like anti-corruption drive is strong, but the opposition has used this as a rallying point to frame the government's move as a move towards constitutional dictatorship. Because Sri Lanka has been, although on rule of law and anti-corruption hasn't been performing so well, but on one thing that Sri Lanka has been doing so well in terms of democracy is its electoral systems. It has a very good electoral system in the sense that at least elections are free, fair we don't know, but elections are free and governments can go and come into power.
Okay.
So if that process is being challenged, is the real test for Sri Lanka here.
Okay, Harindra Dasanayake, really grateful for your analysis tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Nice talking to you.